Okie doke. Should we let everyone in?
Yeah, ready to go when you are.
Okay.
They are still in session 1, right? Yeah. The delegations are still discussing in session 1 now.
They're just joining the session now.
The session kedua.
Oh,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
second session.
What are we up to? Second session for this week. Yes. Assalamualaikum, everyone. Welcome, everybody. Where are my notes? There they are. Okay. Assalamualaikum. Good afternoon or good evening. Selamat sore. Welcome to our second session for this week, where we're really looking forward to speaking about the role of female leaders, female ulama in our respective communities. As always, I'd like to begin by acknowledging the traditional owners of the lands where we are all joining from today, including the traditional owners of the lands on which Rowan and myself live and work, the Bunurong people of the Kulin Nation. We recognise their continuing connection to land, water and community, and would like to pay our respects to their elders past, present and future. As usual, our usual housekeeping requests to change your profile name so it shows your name and also your location. I love, Iman, that you have your Indigenous name of your location tonight. Very cool. And if you are able to please turn your cameras on so that we can all see each other as we join our discussion for today. Also, a note that our session, as usual, will be recorded just for internal purposes. So while you're welcome to take screenshots or short videos without audio, we do ask that no one record the audio from our discussion today so that we're all able to speak freely, inshallah. So now turning to our topic for today, which is, one of the ones that I enjoy all of the ones in our program, but especially this one as well. So as we all know, across our history and up to the present day, women have done and continue to play really important roles across all of our communities. And yet at the same time, it remains true that women are often underrepresented in positions of leadership in both of our countries across various different fields, including within religious spaces, where women's representation in community decision-making roles can sometimes still face very significant challenges. So, of course, there are significant strands of female religious scholarship and leadership right across our Islamic traditions. And even in recent history in Indonesia, there are many examples of leading scholars and, of course, the Indonesian Female Ulama Congress, also known as KUPI. So today we are privileged to have with us two highly respected community leaders who will be leading our exploration of the role of female ulama and female leadership across different segments of our community. We are really looking forward to hearing insights from their own journeys as respected female ulama in both of their communities in Australia and Indonesia, as well as hearing about the broader experiences of Muslim women in both of our countries. And we also look forward to giving our female delegates in the program an invitation to reflect on their own experiences of leadership as well across your communities, either during the question and answer or in our breakout rooms later. So it's now my pleasure to introduce our first speaker for today, Ibu Hindun Anissa. Ibu Hindun is a leader of the Hashim Ashari Islamic Boarding School in Jepara, Central Java. She's also a chairperson of the Association of Girls Islamic Boarding School Leaders and Female Preachers. She is a passionate supporter for women's rights and was part of a presidential task force which addressed the rights of female migrant workers facing the death penalty abroad. She is a member of the advisory committee for KUPI, the Indonesian Female Ulama Congress. And the second International KUPI Congress was actually hosted at Bu Hindun's Islamic Boarding School back in 2022. So Bu Hindun is currently a member of parliament in the National Awakening Party. She's an advisor to the Rahimah Center for Information and Education on Islam and Women's Rights. And she's a member of the Fatwa Commission of the Indonesian Council of Ulama, also known as MUI. And last but certainly not least, Bu Hindun is also a 2015 alumna of the AIMEP program. So we are honored to have Bu Hindun with us today, and thank you. Silakan, Bu. Oh, if you could unmute and then, yeah, just let everyone know if you'd like the slides shared.
Yeah. Thank you, Mbak Belina. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam.
Good afternoon, Pak Rawan. Good afternoon, Sister Sarah. Good afternoon, all delegations, both from Indonesia and Australia. That reminds me into 2015 that I was participating MEP. At that time, the name is AIMEP, right, Pak Rawan, not AIMEP, but MEP. It's a nice, very nice program. In this opportunity, I will talk about the women ulama movement in Indonesia. Would you please share my presentation, Pak? Mbak Ulfa? Oh yeah, Pak Rawan. Thank you. So this is the picture of the KUPI, that Women's Ulama Congress. So we can see how the Congress at that time, yeah, in 2017 and 2022. The first KUPI was in 2017, and the second KUPI was in 2022. And please, next slide. In this slide, I just want to distinguish between women ulama and we call it ulama perempuan. Or if we talk in Indonesia, we translate to Indonesia between ulama perempuan and perempuan ulama. We are recognizing that this is a big difference between ulama perempuan and perempuan ulama. I don't know how to translate in English exactly, women ulama and ulama women, or female ulama and women ulama. I don't know. So ulama perempuan means that people, both women and men, that they are taqwa and have akhlakul karimah and uphold justice, provide maslahah, and the most important thing that those ulama, they are practicing and they have the gender equality perspective. But perempuan ulama means that every woman that has ulama characteristic, whether she has gender equality perspective or not. Yeah. So for example, maybe there is the women ulama who promotes child marriage. So we call it perempuan ulama, not ulama perempuan, because in this case, they are promoting gender equality, gender inequality, not gender equality. Please, next slide. In Indonesia, there are many rules of women ulama in the healthcare. We can see that in 1960s, there has been the evidence, yeah, how the Muslimat NU Muslimat NO is a Islamic Muslimah women's organization that belongs to NU. NU is Nahdlatul Ulama organization. It's the biggest Muslim organization in Indonesia. Yeah. And Muslimat NU since the late 1690s, yeah, they have been actively promoting high maternal, not promoting, but discussing and combating high maternal and infant mortality rates that caused by unsafe births. So they are still combating that until now. This is the Muslimat NO. And Muslimat NO, that's the members of the Muslimat NO are the women who are above 50 years old. Yeah. And also the women's ulama role in education. Before the Independence Day in Indonesia, that's 1945, we have Nyai Khairiyah Hashim Ash'ari. Nyai means the women's ulama leader. Nyai Khairiyah Hashim Ash'ari is the daughter of Kiai Hashim Ash'ari. Kiai Hashim Ash'ari is the founder of the NU, Nahdlatul Ulama organization. And at that time, Nyai Khairiyah establishing Islamic boarding schools for girls. And according to the book that I read, she was establishing female Islamic boarding schools in Saudi Arabia for the first time. And another ulama like Siti Aisyah, she was from Bugis ethnic group that she was a prominent figure in women's emancipation, who persistently championed women's rights through education and literacy. Yeah. And nowadays, the Islamic boarding schools for girls that led by women ulama are growing rapidly. And also the women's ulama roles in leadership. We can see now the many women's ulama leader like Nyai Badriah Fayumi, Nyai Haja Alisa Wahid. Alisa Wahid is the daughter of Gus Dur. Kiai Abdurrahman Wahid was our fourth president in Indonesia, Indonesian president. And why? Yeah, this also like I also put my name there because it's a kind of I'm also the secretary of the RME. RME is a association for pesantren Nahdlatul Ulama, and also I'm a member of the Fatwa MUI, and there are many women's ulama in Indonesia that also that produced by Rahima through PUP, Women Ulama Kader Development. Yeah. And also there are many women ulama who play significant roles in politics and governance. In the history, we have Rasuna Said, and also we have we had Ibu Ida Fauzia as the Minister of the Manpower in former period, and also we have many legislators or parliament members, yeah, in that they have a background from as women ulama. Another slide. So how they become, why we appreciate the women ulama? Because there are breakthroughs done by Indonesian women ulama in understanding gender bias text. So it's like in KUPI, you know that KUPI is a female congress, female ulama congress, Indonesian female ulama congress. That in KUPI we have been discussing many issues regarding to the women, and also not only regarding women but also regarding any issues that maybe can impact to the women. Yeah. So when we discussing in KUPI, we use Al-Quran, Hadith, also the ulama, aqwalul ulama. Yeah. Aqwalul ulama means the ulama opinion, but also we also use the Indonesian constitution, and we use women knowledge and experiences, and also we use also the international instruments or regulation that related to the issue that we were discussing. And when discuss the issues, we have 9 basic values of the KUPI as our paradigm. The first is about monotheism, and in monotheism, you know that we only have one God. We only worship one God. So we don't worship even our husband. So this is the discussion that we always raise. Yeah. And the second one is the mercy, or rahmatan lil alamin. We call it rahmatan lil alamin. It's the ideology that we use. And also the third one is maslahah. Maslahah means welfare. And the fourth one is equality. The fifth one in reciprocity, or we call it mubadalah, reciprocity. And the sixth one is about justice and nationality, humanity, and universality. And in doing a fatwa, we use 3 methodology approach. That ma'ruf. Ma'ruf means not only good, but what that people say that this is good. For example, how to say that we treat our family well, so it's about ma'ruf. But when we use abuse, it's not ma'ruf. This is ma'ruf. Yeah. So when everybody knows about that thing, that's a ma'ruf. Mubadalah means reciprocity. For example, when the wife has to respect the husband, so also the husband has to respect the wife. So this is the reciprocity. Yeah, mubadalah. And then about the true justice. True justice means, for example, speaking about equality, so we have to see the true justice. True justice, for example, you know, the impact of the sexual abuse, for example. It's very, very painful for the women because of the our reproductive things, yeah, compared to the men. So that's why the in the violence, why we talk about violence against women, not violence against men, for example, because the impact, because the women have reproductive, what is it, organs, yeah, that very complicated, and also that women very severe, yeah, from the violence and abuses. Yeah. So this is why we use true justice. True justice means what is the justice for men? Maybe it's not justice for women. So this is true justice. Okay, and then next, please, the structure of the religious fatwa that is used in Indonesian Women Ulama Congress. Yeah. So this is the structure. Yes.
Bu Hindun, we probably have just a couple more minutes. Inshallah.
Okay. Yeah. I will do it quickly. So the structure of this religious fatwa, that's this is the fatwa that KUPI produced, and we can compare to MU, yeah, that's Ulama Council, yeah. That's in KUPI we use tasawwur, adillah, istidlal, fatwa, and tazkiyah, and maroji and maratib. In MU, Ulama Council, we use opening, consideration, dictum, explanation, and attachment. So this is the difference between how we produce fatwa compared to MUI fatwa. Okay, please next slide. I'll do it quickly. So this is the fatwa process in the first KUPI. It's about sexual violence that we process. This is haram or forbidden, yeah, and child marriage. Also, we strongly we strongly prohibit child marriage, and also the destruction of nature. This is in first KUPI in 2017. In 2022, we also produced a 5 fatwa. It's about the first fatwa about the marginalization of women in protecting Indonesia and KRI Indonesia from the dangers of violence in the name of the religion. And the second, so this is about the religion-based violence, yeah. And the second one about waste management of environmental sustainability, so about the issue of environment and women. And the third about protection women from the dangers of forced marriage, yeah. And the fourth one is a protection of women's lives from the dangers of pregnancy due to rape. And the fifth one, protection of women from harmful mutilation and injury of women's genitals without medical justification. Okay, the next, so this is the challenges. The challenges, that's about the recognition of women ulama needs more effort, yeah, because if we see ulama usually, is it like people or the community or the society ask, is it allowed for women to be ulama? So this is the big question that we are still facing, but from KUPI, first KUPI and second KUPI, we see the progress, yeah, the progress in the society, in the community, that now they are what is it, the recognition for women ulama is increasing now. Okay, thank you. I think the time is up. Thank you. Yeah. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you so much for that incredible presentation, Bu Hindun, and really offering some deep insights into the KUPI process and how that community works in Indonesia, which is, yeah, as you said in one of your slides, that it's, you know, KUPI fatwa are being considered at the highest levels of government in Indonesia. So really looking forward to, people are welcome to start sharing their questions in the chat, and yeah, to discussing that a bit more once we get into our Q&A. It now gives me really great pleasure to introduce Sister Sarah Sabag. Sister Sarah is the founding director of Benevolence Australia, a community organisation based in Melbourne, which is committed to creating an open and welcoming space for community members to reconnect with sacred knowledge and traditions. Sarah is a highly sought-after religious advisor and public speaker in Australia, and she has a special interest in women's spirituality, nurturing the feminine in our traditions, and supporting women throughout their life transitions. She has received the prestigious Order of Australia Medal in recognition of her deep service to women and the Muslim community in Victoria. So it's our great pleasure to welcome Sister Sarah here with us again today. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Let's begin. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف المرسلين وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Thank you so much, Brenna. It's absolute pleasure to be with you once again here. I've been part of this program, I think, for some years now, and I thoroughly enjoy this particular section of the program where, not when I give a talk, but when we have a discussion afterwards. And above all, it's just listening to Buhindu's presentation. I could have continued listening to you for some time because it's so fascinating. It just made me realize how far away we are in Australia from such a congress, such a female scholarship. But anyway, enough of that. What I'm going to be talking to you about this evening is my personal journey in leadership. And although the topic is the role of women in scholarship, leadership and community, I'm not a scholar and I won't be talking to you about scholarship. I leave that with Buhindun, and she's obviously enlightened us on what scholarship, female scholarship looks like, mashallah, in Muslim majority countries. But I want to talk to you about leadership, and leadership in community and faith leadership, and just share with you a little bit my journey, and then we can open up to discussion. So when I speak on the topic of leadership in community as a Muslim woman, we need to remind ourselves that faith leadership in particular is unlike any other type of leadership. Faith leadership, its very intention of it to be a leader in the faith sphere is to guide, it's to nurture, it's to inspire the community, obviously through religious knowledge, through khidmat service, and being an example. And that's what it really means to be a faith leader. And the Prophet, and it's not something obviously that you wake up one day and think, I'm going to be a faith leader, or I think I want to lead the community, because I'm always reminded that the Prophet ﷺ said, do not ask for leadership. I know this is a leadership program, but he said, do not ask for leadership. He continued on by saying that if you are given it, that is leadership, because you asked for it, then you'll be left to deal with it on your own, right? But if you're given it without asking for it, then you'll be helped in it. So there's something in that about, we are not a tradition that says, I want to lead, because obviously leading, as the Prophet ﷺ teaches us, Sayyid al-Qawm khadimuhum, which is the leader of the people, is really their servant. So now we understand in the leadership sphere that there's such a thing as, servant leadership, the idea of leading through service. And that's our tradition. But in the same way, you're probably thinking, but hang on a second, I put my hand up for some leadership roles because I've got the skills for it. And obviously you should, because Allah Ta'ala also reminds us in Surah Yusuf, where Yusuf alayhi salam, the Prophet Yusuf, when he actually said, he asked the king at the time, he says, قَالَ جَعَلْنِي عَلَى خَزَنَةِ الْأَرْضِ إِنِّي حَفِيظٌ عَلِيمٌ, which means allow me. He asked the king, he said, appoint me over the storehouses of the land, because indeed I'm knowledgeable, I will be a knowledgeable guardian. So he knew he had the skill sets for this, and he put his hand up for it. So what do we take from this? We're taking from it that asking for leadership because of ambition or pride or the love of status is discouraged, obviously. But when we're putting our hand up for any kind of leadership role, when you have the skill sets and the community needs you, then, and done with sincerity and with this for the sake of Allah, then that is praiseworthy. So we need to always check ourselves. When we're talking about faith leadership, it is a very tricky path, and you'd never really want to put your hand up for it. So my personal journey is that I was actually tapped on the shoulder at the age of 16. That seems super young, I know. I didn't know what I was doing. But at the age of 16, I was part of a youth group. And my teacher tapped me on the shoulder, and I was doing my year 12. And he said to me, I want you to organize a girls' camp. And it was the first girls' camp we had. And I said, I'm doing year 12 and I have no idea what skills are required to organize a girls' camp. And he says, I don't know. So fix it up, sort it out. You're responsible. So I was thrown into it. And that was my first experience of leading and organizing, really just thrown in the deep end, where I organized everything from buses, advertising before internet, advertising, creating a curriculum, all of that. But then with that, one thing after the next led me to attending more religious classes, learning, studying the Deen in Melbourne. But I realized as a young adult that I didn't have any female teachers around me. That's why listening to Bohindun, hearing about the amazing amount of ulama, female scholars there, is just so fascinating. Because in Victoria or Melbourne growing up, there weren't any female teachers around. My teachers were all male, which I benefited from immensely, but I always knew there was a gap. So I found myself packing my bag and traveling to Syria, where I'm originally from, and I sat under the feet of female scholars, and that's where I first became exposed to this idea that women aren't just community leaders, they're actually faith leaders, and they can be knowledgeable in the religion, and they could be ulama, and that was new to me. So I remember sitting in front of my teacher and then being exposed to hundreds upon hundreds upon hundreds of female scholars. The institution that I studied at in Haman, a small city in Syria, was all a female institute. And like I said, hundreds of scholars. And when I traveled to Damascus, hundreds and hundreds upon female scholars. And what I noticed there, that the female scholarship just held space for the religion and spoke about the religion just in a different way. It's neither better or worse than my respected male teachers, but they did it differently. And for me as a woman, I really connected with that. And the way they did it differently is that I noticed they were able to speak from community perspective. They were able to speak from a family perspective. They were creating a more gentler atmosphere. They were definitely created a more compassionate classes, if I can use that word. And I was really attracted to that. So after spending some time there, when I came back to Australia, I felt the need to create something similar. So Benevolence was born. Benevolence is a women's led organization in Melbourne, and it has a women's only board, but we service the entire community. And there are 3 communities that we service in particular: the convert community, so those that embrace Islam, what we call reconnecting Muslims, those that were born into Islam that want to come back at a later stage. So you could be 20, 30, 40, 50 years of age, whatever age, and you want to learn how to perform salat for the first time. Where do you go? Where does a 40-year-old man or woman go to learn salat for the first time? So it was created for them, and also the broader non-Muslim community. And so Benevolence has been around since 2008, and alhamdulillah, growing, growing, and growing. Some of the challenges, however, of being a female faith leader in Australia, what was interesting was some of the things that Bahundan said are also some of our challenges. And I was very fascinated that she said that the term female ulama is not really that accepted, or it needs to become more mainstream. We need to make more mainstream here in Australia the idea that Muslim female leadership, or normalizing that faith leaders can also be women. And that's relatively still new in Australian context. And I'd have to say it's quite challenging. I think America does it better than us. I don't think we do it so well here in Australia. And some of the challenges have been really carving out space for the female voice, creating spaces where it's accepted that women are recognized as knowledgeable in this space, but also carving out space in places like, leadership at a higher level, whether it be, AFIC or ANIC, and those that know Australian, landscape, they'll understand this, or even the board of imams, or even the local mosque, to be really fair. It's not that we don't have women's spaces at the mosque, but they're not usually for talking about the goals and the intentions of the mosque and overall picture. It's usually small projects and things like that. But what I want to leave you with is something that's super exciting that we're working on, and that is creating the first of its kind in Victoria, a project that I've been working on for the past 3 years. 3 years, and that is creating our first, similar to the Ulama Majlis in Indonesia, but on a much smaller scale, but creating a majlis of female scholars, I guess, to stand side by side by the Board of Imams or something that's recognized like that. The highest form of leadership, I guess, that we have in Victoria in terms of faith leadership is our Imams Council, Board of Imams. So we're working on that. It's been 3 years in the making, and I think we have a lot to learn from Indonesia, from Syria, from Yemen, from other places where it's Muslim majority countries, where female leadership and scholarship has been ahead of us by far. And so I'm really looking forward to seeing that new chapter in our Australian landscape open up for us. So that's it from me, and I look forward to our discussion. I hope I didn't go over time, Brenna.
No, absolutely. That was perfect timing. And thank you so much for, I always love hearing different aspects every time we hear from you of your journey and of the leadership roles that you hold in Melbourne, and really exciting to hear about that new project, as we were talking about before before everyone joined us. Yeah, inshallah, there's opportunities to connect with the Indonesian as well. We have some really great questions. So I might start off with inviting Iman, if you'd like to ask your question of Bu Hindun.
Thank you, Brenna. Thank you so much, Bu Hindun, for introducing us to the work of Kupi. It's truly incredible, mashallah. I'm interested, like, just from the get-go, knowing that there's two different, I guess, categories of ulama, women ulama and ulama women. That was the first time I've heard that. And I'm curious to know, I guess, like, how a lot of these, the main differences arise, given that it's grounded in Islamic principles. Is it differences in people's interpretation or different sects of Islam that it stems from, and also how you and how Kupi define equality as well?
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Sister Iman Bala. Yes, yeah. So the difference in the interpretation of the text, of course, and we call it like what is it in ulama women? Sometimes that that's just refer to the biological, but sometimes the perspective, for example, maybe that so-called sometimes like we can say like abuse to another woman, for example, or be hurting another woman. For example, we call it, when we talk about, for example, the widow. This is issue in Indonesia, for example, the widow. Some people marginalized the widow. The widow, that's the woman who has, maybe the husband is dead, or maybe widow based because of the divorce. Yes, so that's women ulama. We see that they have rights, that the widow is not allowed and not deserve to be marginalized or to be stigmatized. Yeah, so this is stigma, this is stigmatization for them, and also like stereotyping for the widows. But ulama women, sometimes, yeah, they like also they are echoing the society to have stigma, to give this stigma to the widow. So this is the difference. So this is also how we see the women, how we see the women as equal before Allah. Yeah. So this is the principle of the women ulama. So how we see the women and the men are equal before Allah. So that's about equality. Yes.
Jazakallah khairan. That makes sense. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Bu Hindun, for that response. And yeah, I mean, I guess it's the same as ulama of any gender or background, that there's many different viewpoints that exist. Yeah, and that there are some core principles of the ulama perempuan and their approach. I might invite Mas Mirza, if you'd like to ask your question about female leadership, and perhaps we can invite Sister Sarah to respond to that.
Okay, thank you, Bu Prina, for the opportunity. I would like to ask to Sister Sarah about the woman leadership because I heard about your story about your leadership starting from the female camp to your current movement. In 2016, as an Islamic NGO leader, I have appointed women as a to lead our pesantren or our Islamic boarding school. However, this scheme increasing controversial among communities, especially for the males, because I was demanding to choose or call out to appoint male leaders instead of the woman. I saw that as you said before, that the woman leadership will give different perspective compared to male's leaders. In our cases, the woman leadership, they more concerned about the menstrual hygiene, about the kind of health, their student health, that encourage the girl in that area to continue their study. So I want to know how I can sustain and strengthen this practice of women leadership in the face of such cultural resistance. Thank you.
MashaAllah, MashaAllah. Well, first of all, congratulations to you for wanting to, stand behind and support the voice of female leadership in the face of, not having much support. So congratulations to you. I think the best thing that you can do, first of all, we're going to face obstacles no matter what. That's just part of being in any kind of leadership role. Don't ever assume whichever role you take, there's not going to be obstacles. And obstacles are there, I believe, to strengthen that muscle of sincerity. If we are sincere in what we are doing, undoubtedly we're going to find obstacles. But if we're sincere in what we're doing, Allah Ta'ala wants to sift out that ikhlas, sift out that sincerity. And so when we sift out that sincerity, we are persistent. And when we're persistent, we could give up, or we can stay persistent if we are clear in our sincerity. But as we are clear in our sincerity, the one thing that we cannot lose is our what we would call our character, our virtues, our virtues in moving forward with our intention. And so that is the main key, because when we're trying to pursue something, a goal, even though we think this is right, this is my Islamic right, I have every right to do this, and we're faced with obstacles, we need to move forward with the virtuous character, because that's where the Prophet taught us, and not to lose that, not try and win an argument, but rather, I believe in this. Am I doing anything wrong? No. So let me move forward. I'm going to share something with you. Throughout my leadership life in various roles, and I've been in this space for just under 4 decades. So I've had my fair share of experiences. I doubted myself along the way. I doubted myself because I would hear that voice that you are hearing when I'd had those obstacles saying, I don't think you should be doing this. I heard voices from the community saying, your voice is aura, that you shouldn't be in the public sphere, that I've had people saying to me, if there are men that can do your role, you should sit aside. If any man can do the same thing that you are doing, you shouldn't be doing it. You should only step into the role if there are no men that can do what you are doing. And so I can't say that I let go of all those critiques. I would actually take them in and doubt myself. But I surrounded myself with people that reminded me, are you doing anything wrong by Allah? Is this permissible in our Sharia? And when I had that around, it's like, it is permissible. I'm not doing anything wrong. I know I'm going against the status quo, But I'm not going against Allah, just like what you are doing now. You are supporting the voice, because this voice of females in the faith space is actually the way of the companions. It's the way of the Prophet ﷺ. The Prophet ﷺ gave voices to his wives. We wouldn't have the religion we have today without Aisha radiallahu anha, the first ever female scholar. And that's just to state the obvious. So I think what I would advise you is stay true to the knowledge of our religion, and that Islam gives that voice. It's not about empowerment. It's not about going anti-men. It just is that Allah gave knowledge to both men and women. That's it. And so keep supporting it, but do not lose your akhlaq, your etiquette, your adab in the process of doing so. That's what I would recommend.
Thank you so much for that beautiful response, Sister Sarah. I feel like that's touched on a few questions that are coming through, because yeah, I think absolutely that process of breaking down the societal norms and returning to our traditions really is what a lot of this conversation is about. I might invite Sami, if you'd like to ask your question of Bu Hindun, connecting the fatwa to practical steps in our community.
Sure. Thank you, Brina, for the opportunity. So thank you so much, Bu Hindun, for your holistic and also incredible presentation. So my question is about child marriage, which is something that really concern in Indonesia, particularly in Eastern Indonesia area. So as you know that we already have a 2019 amendment to the marriage law, raising the minimum marriage age to 19. But sometimes I saw it's quite overlapping with another regulation, let's say dispensation from religious courts. So based on your work in KUPI or your perspective, can you share some specific action or intervention from KUPI related to this issue to address this issue? So
Yes, thank you, Mbak Samintang. Yes, yes. Thank you for your questions. Regarding child marriage, yes, this is the amendment. We can say that's it's a result from the fatwa, KUPI's fatwa. That's how we strongly prohibited child marriage. And yes, of course, in our country, we face another regulation about marriage dispensation, that the female or male who wants to be married, but their age below 19, so they can go to the court, Islamic court, to get dispensation to have marriage. And we, of course, KUPI strongly not accept the dispensation. So we are inviting, we have been inviting the judge in the court to discuss about that, about the dispensation, how we ask them to minimize or to eliminate the dispensation just because of the age, because the judge said if they are not married, so they will be sexual outside marriage. So this is the reason from them. But we convinced the judge that because the marriage is not, this is not the reason. So how we protect the women, especially the girls, from the child marriage. So this is the goals. So also we are inviting the kiai, the bunyai, that's the Islamic leaders from pesantren, and we convince them that child marriage is not good for the girls as well as boys. And so we have been doing like structurally to the court, to the government, and also we are doing culturally to the society. And when we last year I checked in one of the Islamic courts in in my place. The judge said that the dispensation now is decreasing, but it's in my place. But I don't know, in another place, maybe we can see the research there. It is increasing. Is it increasing or decreasing after the amendment of the regulation, and after we intervention, we have been doing intervention to the dispensation that contradictive to the regulation of the marriage, of the minimum age for marriage. Thank you. And but Belina, I read the question in the chat box, yeah, about the waste management.
Oh yeah. So I think that one was from Ismi, but yeah, also related to how Kupi have transformed the fatwa into practice.
Into practice, yeah. That's waste management. After Kupi, we are doing intervention with the pesantren. So we use the term gold generation. Gold generation means we are inviting the santri. Santri is students in pesantren and we educate them about waste management. So we educate them about how to recycle, reuse, reduce the waste, yeah, and also how to manage the waste, how to reduce the production of the waste, and we do it until now. So and we are in some pesantren, of course, we are doing in like a piloting in some pesantren in Java, yeah, to do waste management. And we hope from this pilot project, we hope that the pesantren can educate another pesantren also. So this is the real practice after fatwa, after Kupi fatwa, relating to the waste management on environment. Yeah, that's Bu Brina. Yeah.
Thank you so much for that response, Bu Hindun. And yeah, it's a big process. I know I've had like the Kupi congresses are 5 years apart, in part because of the preparation needed, but also I believe because of the time required to really try and put into practice the fatwa, not just to produce the fatwa, but to really integrate them into the society. So yeah, it's a huge job, but thank you for giving us some insight into how you're doing that with your community, Bu Hindun. I think I might invite, just slightly out of order, maybe Anjum, if you'd like to ask your question. I feel like that would be a great one to get Sister Sarah's thoughts on.
Assalamu alaikum, jazakumullah khairan. Thank you so much for your presentations. Sorry for my delayed joining. Yeah, the question really was about feminism, and that whole context of being called feminist when you're a Muslimah and you're trying your best not to be a feminist, but then you get labeled feminist because all you're doing is standing up for women's rights, and it's really irritating. But to put that aside, to put our emotions aside, because we don't want to be emotional women, what's your response, or how do you go about it? And I just mentioned my project, which she was said, so we're archiving the stories of inshallah 1,000 female scholars from around the world. And when I talked to a teacher who I thought I'd get some inspiration from, mashallah, and I said, oh, it's 1,000 female scholars, the response was, oh, that's a bit woke, like, why do you want to just do women? What about the men? And it was like, huh? Like, what do you mean, the men? So, like, how do you deal with being labeled a feminist when we really don't want to be labeled feminist? Like, it's almost the opposite of what we're trying to do. I'd just love to hear your thoughts, inshallah.
That's a beautiful question. It's actually an easy one. Tell them, is there a surah in the Quran titled Ar-Rijal? Is there? No. There is a chapter in the Quran, surah in the Quran, titled An-Nisa, the chapter of women. Why? Did the Prophet ﷺ, so that's the first thing. We also know that the Prophet ﷺ made special time for women, right? So we need to understand, and the Prophet ﷺ gave his farewell sermon. He said, I'm telling you, take care of women. So in various times we see in the Quran, in the tawsiyah of the Prophet ﷺ, his legacy leaving behind, in his own lifetime, there was time that was carved out for women. He had women's only times to actually speak to the women. Why? Because they came up to him and said to him, Ya Rasulullah, the men get to speak with you all the time. They're always hanging out with you, right? They're always with you. When do we get time? And he said, but great question. Let's carve out time. Let's make women's only time. Because you're right. The fact that I share the same gender as the men means we can eat together, we can go out together, we can do everything together. But I don't get to do that with you because we have modesty in Islam. There's a barrier of gender. So let's carve out time for you. And he thought that was a great question. When Allah Ta'ala revealed Surah An-Nisa, it's the chapter of women. The idea that we're saying is this is not woke. This is not feminism. It's from Allah. Because if Allah did not advocate for us, I'll tell you what will happen to women. Our very nature, we will minimize ourselves and minimize ourselves and minimize ourselves until we disappear. If Allah himself did not say, oh, you're not going anywhere, you come back right now and you stay in this conversation, women by their very nature will minimize their own voices. That's not woke. That's from Allah. That's what I would reply back, right? That's what I would say back. So you need to just why isn't there a chapter called Surah Al-Rijal? Right? And the other thing I'm going to say is that we need to stop worrying about what other people are saying. We really do. Maybe I'm just at that age. It's like that's completely fine. You can call it that, but I've got to keep going. I've got to keep going with my intention of where I'm taking this, right? As long as you know your intention, you have adab every step of the way, and you have sincerity, then Bismillah. I don't know if that helps.
Jazakumullah khairan. That was absolute mic drop moment. Mashallah, Jazakumullah khairan.
I'm glad. Alhamdulillah, shukrillah. Alhamdulillah, shukrillah.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for that, Sister Sarah. I feel like there's many heart emojis to that. Yeah, really, really insightful and important response for us all to remember, both men and women. I might now invite, I think Mbak Ajeng and Mbak Bani both have a similar question, but I might invite Mbak Ajeng, if you could ask your question I feel like we've had from Sister Sarah the very strong religious reasons why women have a right to have a space, and now your question is the practical ways that Bu Hindun and Kupi are doing that. So yeah, if you would like to ask your question of Bu Hindun.
Yeah, thank you, Bu Brina, for the opportunity. Bu Nyai Hindun, thank you for your very insightful presentation. I'm one who very grateful for the emergence of Kupi, because I work in the Islamic institution, and sometimes it's really hard to talk about gender equality in my institution, and the emergence of Kupi really helped me in the spreading the perspective of gender equality. My question is, as we know, Indonesia is really predominantly male religious leadership, and how does Kupi cultivate its agency and navigate the challenges of promoting gender equality perspective? Because sometimes when I talk about gender equality in my institution, many people give comments. It's really still important to talk about gender equality because many women can go to higher education. Why do you need to talk about it? Thank you, Bu Hindun.
Yeah, thank you, Mbak Ajeng Leli Hidayati from East Kalimantan. Yeah, yeah, that's it's not easy, but we have been doing this project. I mean, to train women ulama since 1998. I mean, to train them to be more confident. That's the most important thing, because in Indonesia there are many women who are expert in religious teachings, like in Islamic teachings. So they can read and they can interpret the Quran. They can interpret the how to say, the kitab. Kitab is the compilation, the compilation from the ulama. So there are many Islamic scholars, female Islamic scholars in Indonesia, but still the male, like you said, that they think that that's of course the women ulama, maybe they are just, what is it, mengada-ada, like just useless. They are doing useless. Sometimes they think like that, but we convince them that we in women ulama, we are a collective leadership. So this is also that distinguish between women ulama and maybe men ulama, because in men ulama, they are like one person who are the most authoritative, but here in KUPI, we are the collective leadership. So no one is what is above, like these female ulama are most powerful than this another female ulama. No, not like that. So this is also the convincing society, and also convincing the men, and also they can recognize the female ulama that we are what is it, promoting as Sister Sarah said, that we are sincere to promote Islam rahmatan lil alamin, not to have the power, or not to gain the power, or not to take the power from the men. So this is the key, I think, because some men say, maybe feel that, oh, the female want to take our power. So we are convincing them that we are not doing that, but we just want to say to the people that there are many, maybe what is it, hidden interpretation that the people do not aware about that, or do not realize about the text, that the text say that, but the ulama or male ulama say different things about the text, about the interpretation of the text. So this is that we try to say to the society, the text say about this, the interpretation. There are many interpretations, but why maybe the male ulama just take one interpretation and they said that this is only the truth. So these things that we try to convey to the ummah, to the society. So this is the challenging, but people said that now there are many women who are getting the higher education, but this is not enough, because getting higher education doesn't mean that the voice of the women are listened, or they can speak up when we have the women can express something. So this is still the challenge in our country. So these things that we try to what is it, to raise the awareness from the society about what is it, the higher if you have higher education, so means you have also the higher access, or maybe you have the higher opportunity. And I can see my experience. For example, now I'm a member of the House of Representatives in Indonesia. When I when I was doing a campaign for that election, so people like said, "Oh, this is women. Other have a quality to be House of Representative member. What's her background?" Yeah. But these questions never question to the men who are campaigning to be House of Representative. Yeah, but these questions just for women. Are they qualified to be House of Representative? This is the context in Indonesia, maybe different in Australia, but Indonesia still like that. Yeah, when women competing, competing in the general election, in the political election. So there are many questions that about A, B, C, D, E that never asking to the men. So this is also something that we have to take into our considerations. So thank you, Bajan.
Bruna, do you mind if I just add something to Bu Hindun is saying?
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you so much for that. But and I wanted to mention, we need to remind ourselves, especially in the West, but also in Muslim majority countries, that what we have inherited from Western philosophy, we've inherited that paradigm and that way of thinking, which is not our way of thinking. And we've taken that on as the norm. Terminology such as that is so feministic, that is woke, that is things like, without even understanding our own tradition. So that's one thing. We need to be aware of what we are thinking, how we are assuming our religion to be, that's based on another paradigm, another way of life, including Christianity, including other worlds of view. That's not our worldview. That's the first thing. And the second thing is to recognize that even in Muslim majority countries and in the West and everywhere, what we're talking about is a lack of knowledge of Islam. Because when you have men that are educated about the religion and also work on the inner self, because we've got knowledge of the religion, we've also got working on oneself and one's ego and being okay with having a woman that is their counterpart, right? When I lived in Syria, I saw this modeled. I saw female scholars sit amongst male scholars, and there was utter respect there. There was absolute respect there. There was no one feeling, oh, does she have one over me? You're a feminist. Nobody used that type of language. There was absolute respect. So I think we need to remember those two. One, there's not an understanding of the religion. You know, my dear friend, Dr. Susan Carlin, wrote a whole thesis on fighting Islam, this idea of that this is interpreted in a particular way. That's within our tradition, but also we've got what we've inherited from Western society and civilization and Christianity and so on and so forth. That's not actually us, but we've inherited, and we can't differentiate between us and them. Does that make sense?
Thank you so much for that. Yeah, for both from Bu Hindun and Sister Sarah. I feel like several people have noted the gems of wisdom that you both offered then, but I did love that idea of that collective leadership that Bu Hindun spoke about, and again reiterating the fact that this is a part of our tradition and our history. Which is, yes, a wonderful thing to be reminded of. I might invite Ala. I feel like your question is a little bit different to some of the other questions that we've explored, but would be a really interesting one. I think we've got time to squeeze it in.
I'll try to, and it's really open to both. So would love to hear from Sister Sarah too. Assalamualaikum. Thank you so much for both of those talks. So myself, I'm on the board of AMWICHER, which is the Australian Muslim Women's Centre for Human Rights. So we deal a lot with gender-based violence. We do case research as well. And so one of the prevalent themes that we've seen is spiritual abuse around our community. So in terms of cultural stigma, what are people going to say? And then going to an imam asking, is this right? And they'll be like, have sabr. This is your husband. So what is our role as women, and women like Sister Hindun mentioned about women ulama? How do we play a part in preventing such abuses within the community? So we do a lot of outreach with education to like even high school schools to get, the child marriages also. I saw it popping in the chats. It's something that we face too within certain communities, but also getting the advocacy from the community Muslim leaders. I know, Sister Sana, we should look into ourselves in the female role, but subhanAllah, like they do have quite a voice, and it's really hard to get them engaged in educating the men in terms of the perpetrator. So I just wanted to know what can we do to build more advocacy around this space, especially when Sister Hindu was saying, we base stuff on hadith, and hadith sometimes is interpreted in a way that, is presented back to women to focus on the men's kind of view. So I just wanted to ask. That was my question. I hope it made sense. It's very loaded, but something that we're facing.
Hindun, would you like to go first?
Oh, you're muted, Bu Hindun.
Oh yeah, thank you. That's about, if I'm not mistaken, yes. As about the advocacy for the victims of gender-based violence.
So, Bu Hindun, I think it's like spiritual abuse. So if the imam or the sheikh, he uses the religion to say,
yes,
yeah, this is what you need to do because Islam says so. Yeah.
Yes, that's what we are doing in Kupi. That's we are doing, and we are not doing the interpretation, but we are doing what is it? Conveying the text. I mean, we invite the female scholars as well as the male scholars to think about the text, to see truly, honestly, what texts say about that. For example, in Indonesia, there are also many cases about the domestic violence. And the Imam said, when the women is abused by the husband, the wife is abused by the husband, and then the wife report to the police. And the Imam said, no, don't go to the police, because it means that you reveal that you, that you show up the aib. What is the aib, Pak Roman? Aib from the husband. So it's like the forbidden things.
Brina, do you want to? I mean, aib is it's an Arabic term. I'm sure Sister Sarah.
Yes, aib is Arabic terms. Yes,
it's revealing the fault. It's revealing the fault.
Yes,
the fault.
The aib, yeah. So you, for example, you are forbidden to go to the police, because means that you reveal the aibs from your husband. And from that, we educate the women, also the society. This is not true, because there are many hadiths that talk about how the Rasulullah, the Prophet, appreciate the women who talk to the Prophet because of their husband abused them. And one of the story told in Quran is Hawlah binti Tha'labah in the verse Mujadilah. So this is clearly state about how the women Hawlah talked to the Prophet, and then didn't get the proper answer from the Prophet, and then they talk to the Allah. Yeah. And they they ask to Allah, they ask the justice from Allah. And the Prophet and Allah didn't say, no, don't do that because you, doing aib for your husband. No, Allah doesn't say like that. But Allah give a solution to that woman. And also the Prophet in another hadith also like that, when there is one hadith that women was forced married by the parents. So the parents was forcing her to marry the man that she didn't like him and she didn't know about him. And she went to the Prophet and said, why, Rasulullah, you know that my parents forced me to marry him, and now we are married. And Rasulullah called the husband and said to the women, okay, now what do you want? You don't want your husband, or you want to divorce with him? You have right for that. So the Rasulullah said like that, and the women said, no, Rasulullah, I don't want to divorce her. I just want to know, is the women have does the women have right to to choose who will be her husband? So this is also the things that we talk to the society that about that thing. So we show the hadith. So that's why one of our colleague, Kiai Fakihuddin Abdul Qadir, he wrote the book about the 60 hadiths that talk about the gender equality between wife and husband, that maybe never taught by Imam, yeah, or maybe just rarely taught by Imam. So this is, yeah. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Muhindan. I might also reflect on that question. It's a great question, Ella. And you working for Amateur, I can only imagine that what you're seeing and how difficult it is to work with our leadership. I want to say that we have a long way to go. We have a very long way to go. I've been working, so I was one of the original group of women that was part of the beginning of AMWIC, so what used to be called Australian Muslim Women, and it used to be called Centre. Now I forgot what it was called. It was called a different name.
Islamic Women's Welfare Council.
That's what it was called. And I remember working many years ago, and things have improved a little bit, but we have a very long way to go. Spiritual bypassing is a reality that women do get advised that they need to stay and they need to bear patience, they need to just put up with it and all the rest of it. I think this is one of the reasons that we continue training the Imams Council, and one of the reasons we're trying to create a women's council. We just have a very long way to go. The fact that we can name it now, we've always named it, but we have names. We have names for coercive control, and that's a big issue in our community where we're hiding behind the religion. At Benevolence, we've created a program, a pre-marriage program called Good Beginnings, with the intention of equipping young couples to understand what a wholesome faith-based relationship looks like. That's our small contribution to the prevention of family violence space, pre-marriage, to really equip men and women, whether young or first or second marriage, whatever it might be, but a marriage grounded in the prophetic model. But it's going to just need more education, more advocacy, and more, just keep chipping away at it. It's definitely difficult.
And especially when we have like a negative relationship with like law, like, how, as Sister was saying, going to the police, we just don't even like the police. So our option is to go to our spiritual faith leaders, and then subhanAllah, but that's really exciting. And inshallah, make a lot of dua for you and the community to get that.
But keep advocating, keep speaking to them, keep working with them. Don't cut off. I don't believe in shutting communication. I always believe in keep the doors open, keep it going. If it's okay with you, Brenna, Iman wrote a question before about how do we chip away at this when it's like it is a difficulty with the mosques or whatever it might be. I want to give you a short story. I was once invited to a conference. It was like a peace conference in Abu Dhabi. I was just there as a guest, but the panel at one stage was talking about Muslim women's voices in male dominant spaces. All of the panel were Muslim men. There was one non-Muslim woman on the panel. And I was just thinking, how did this happen? How did we get the one non-Muslim woman on this panel? And this is in Abu Dhabi, and all of the rest are male mashayikh. So I was quite annoyed. And there was a teacher there. Some of you might know him. His name is Habib Ali Jafri, a well-renowned scholar in the Muslim world from Tarim. I saw him there, and he was actually on the panel. So I made a V-line to him, and I said to him, what just happened? Out of all the Muslim women in the world, like this was an international conference, you couldn't find one female to advocate on the behalf of Muslim women? And then he said to me, do you want a diplomatic answer, or do you want a truthful answer? I said, I want the truth. Like, I want you to tell me what you think. He said two things. He said, one, first of all, he said to me, I'm not part of the organizing team. I was here as a guest, so you're asking the wrong person. But he said two things. First of all, don't wait for an invitation. When you see a gap in community, when you see a gap somewhere, you need to go and claim it. No one's going to ask you, would you like to? No one's going to move away for you because, oh, we don't have a voice for this person. Let's consider that person. Don't. If you see that gap, don't wait for an invitation. You make your way and say, you have a gap and I have the answer. I would like to be a part of this. But two, he also said, you need to be the right person for the job. You need to have the knowledge and the skill sets. You can't put your hand up for something if you don't have the skill sets or the knowledge. So I took that as equip yourself, be the right person for the job, and then put yourself, go in there with humility and say, I am the right person for this job. You have a gap here. He said to me, you should email the organizers. They made a mistake. But he also said to me, are you the right person for the job? And are you brave and courageous enough to make a V-line for them? So I say that to all my sisters, to just take it on.
Sorry, I'm getting my heart emoji reaction, so I can't thank you. There we go. And now I can thank you. Jazakallah khair. Thank you so much. Please, everyone join me in thanking these two incredible female ulama leaders in our community, such examples for all of us, who I think have really brought home, I don't know, I feel like there's so many takeaways, but at its heart, I feel like both our speakers have conveyed that what we're advocating for in this conversation is a continuation of a rich history that leads back to our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We're not suggesting that we create something new, and that also this will take time. And I have the utmost respect for both of our speakers tonight, who have invested so much of their energy in both equipping themselves and putting themselves forward to address those gaps, which continue to exist. But mashallah, thank you both so much for sharing your stories. We're now going to invite our delegates to spend some time in breakout rooms where they will have a chance to reflect on the many, many things that we spoke about today. But also especially, I think, for the women we have in our delegation this year, to an invitation for you to reflect on your experiences as female leaders, the challenges that you've faced, or perhaps, inshallah, maybe some of you come from communities like Mas Mirza's Pesantren, where the men are proactively inviting you to engage and it is an equal space. I think those stories are also fantastic, and things that we should share as well. But the questions are there in the chat. So first of all, what stood out for you from our speakers' presentations today? The second question, how well are women represented in your communities, especially in those decision-making and leadership roles? And how can we work to overcome the barriers that still exist. So thank you once again to our wonderful speakers and to our delegates. Please enjoy your breakout room discussion. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome back, everyone. I can see some faces, the usual. We were still speaking smiles. I hope you managed to have, to dive into your dialogues before we pulled you back. So we don't have as much time as usual for sharing back today. So I think we'll dive right in. Maybe room 2, Sami, Ala, the Ajang, Ridvan. Did someone want to just really briefly maybe mention a highlight or two?
Yeah, there's so many different experiences as well, depending on where you're from or what Islam is practiced like in your region. So I have found, just a big generalization, but the experience of the contemporaries and the teachers from the Asian region is more positive overall, I found, than those coming from the West. So their narratives are very different. Their narratives are more, we mix, the male ulama have a lot of respect for us. Yeah, we're on the same platforms. There's no question. Whereas in the West, the Western context, it's like you're fighting. You're going through the trenches. You know, you're like really fighting against it. So it's quite different. So it's really endearing to hear some of the positive experiences of, and also when I've interviewed women teachers or poets or artists from the African diaspora, like mashallah over there as well it's a very healthy paradigm, mashallah, from what we see compared to, again, the West, where we're multicultural. So we're bringing our culture, and then there's so many different versions of Islam, and it just all just yeah. So yeah, there's a lot of differences based on each individual's experiences, I think. Yeah.
Yep. Fantastic. Yeah, no, really interesting. And one more really interesting point for people to reflect on.
I will try.
Yeah.
Okay, I will try. We have like a very incredible discussion in our room. We talk about our challenges in our community, especially when we are talking about women. It's really hard to make like very balanced discussion, especially in the seminar or in workshops. Sometimes most of the panels are men. So we also discuss about the strategy, and we have like one strategy to use it. When we talk about women, we are not only we have to invite our male friends to also talk about female issues, because when talk about female issue, it's not only about female, it's not only about the woman, but also about male. Yeah, so we have also very nice discussion about domestic violence and about culture, about many things actually, but I think we have like a limited time to talk. So thank you, Bubrina.
Thank you so much. I think you've left us all wanting to know more, which is great. Okay, how about room 4? Mas Fatur, Anjum, Tehanisa, Mbak Dina. Does anyone have a highlight?
I think it was the same thing for us, exactly what was just said. This was a lot to be said. I liked, we actually dived deep into Lombok and the child marriage. And what was interesting, which Dina shared, was that there's child marriages for the boys or men as well. So it's child to child marriage, which is quite different to what I thought it was. So I thought we were talking about girls to adult men, or like older men, I should say. But this was child to child. So then it's interesting why it's a gender issue. And then mashallah, Dina discussed the work that she's doing in the field, and also how it's mainly the human rights activists who are speaking out for them. Because so I asked, is it like the religious leaders? And mashallah, she responded that actually, because it's taken from religious law, it's not the religious leaders, so it's the human rights. So that was really interesting. And mashallah, Dina's doing some excellent work also with the migrant workers, which is a whole other area, which subhanAllah, she's doing incredible work in advocating for their rights as well. And that's also a gender issue, which she shared about, because it's the women who go out to work and then they come home and there's issues of infidelity or issues of other financial abuse or things that happen in the family home. And so it's really interesting to talk about gender from that perspective as well, subhanAllah. And then, mashallah, Luke ended with a very nice anecdote, which from his community, from his teacher, who has founded their local community organization, but he always says that he's the co-founder and that his wife is the actual founder. And I thought that was a really beautiful, mashallah, a really beautiful way to end our discussion.
Amazing, beautiful. Yes, no, I mean, I'm inspired by all of you, but Nina's work with migrant workers is a huge issue in Indonesia, and I don't think we've had many people in our community before who have done a lot of work in that space in particular. So yeah, I think it's really wonderful that you can bring that issue to our conversations as well, but Nina, and I love the story of Luke as well. Beautiful. All right, we have time for 1 or 2 minute really quick feedback from, how about room 1? Mbak Bani, Mas Darul, Mbak Erin, Juliana, Kudrat. Do we have a highlight from someone? Who have we got? Maybe Mbak Bani or Mbak Erin. Who have we not heard from yet? Who's going to be berani to unmute? Kudrat.
Yeah, I'm unmuted, but I thought maybe the things that we discussed, Juliana could have spoke better about it. Maybe, Juliana, did you want to? Because she said it really nicely, and it was very, I think, some things that I never actually thought about. So, okay. Well, one of the things we spoke about was actually she mentioned how she obviously is grown up in Malaysia, and then everything is so normal, like especially the mosques. That was a big thing where how in Melbourne, I mean in Australia in general, and that's how it is in Melbourne as well, where the section for women it's a very, very, very small section at the back near the toilets, not much space given to them, where and she said, she recently went to Malaysia, and there was people with her from Australia as well, and they went through the main entrance, and there were men and they were there, and then they felt emotional because this was the things that they were missing. So for us, thinking, oh, we're in Australia, men and women, everyone's treated equally and all of that. But then we've got these issues. And I said, look, I can, I guess, speak about this. My community being an Afghan community, and you guys would know in Southeast, if they're probably the biggest, if not the biggest, one of the biggest communities in Southeast of Melbourne. But we've got no women representation, unfortunately, especially when it comes to leadership. There's no such thing as that, that exists among my community, unfortunately. And the same story with the mosque. It's a big mosque. A very, very small section at the back is given to the ladies. I've never heard in my 23 years of being in Melbourne, and I'm very involved with the mosque. Like I attend to it, and I know about the events that happen there. There's never a lecture or an event or a program that's for ladies. It's always things that happen for men. And one of those things that I actually never think about until someone said something, and I just all clicked. I was like, wow, it's so true. So yeah, there's a lot of issues, and I said, well, that's probably something maybe I have to start thinking about, see what I can do actually about this.
And just to add very, very quickly, I think that should be the biggest takeaway, is that when Sister Sarah said that we need to go and make the spaces, sometimes there's no room on the table and someone needs to make the way. And the best way for that to happen is for the men who are on the table, who see what is lacking, who now know what is lacking, to speak up and say, we need sisters here. Because if you don't make space, people leave. And that was one of the other things that I mentioned, is that the youth are leaving our beautiful religion because we're not making space for people to be heard and for space for them to exist, really. So yeah, that's just a slight add-on.
Yeah, no, beautiful. And yes, as Rowan said, I think we've met the trailblazer for women's representation in Southeast Melbourne Afghan communities, inshallah. Kudrat, no pressure. But I think you've got some amazing women in this group who are very happy to to assist. And yeah, I mean, it's the real lived life experiences that we're sharing here, right? That give us those different perspectives and things that we might not have thought about, because we live in different spaces, we live in different communities, and that's the whole point of these discussions. All right, we have one more minute and one more breakout room. Mashibat, Iman, and Mirza, is there anyone who wanted to share just really, really briefly? Yeah, silakan.
Okay. I can share our discussion, Bu Prina. So we talk about a lot about the women leadership, that we agree that the resistance of the women leadership is coming from the cultural aspect compared to the Islamic value itself. For example, in Indonesia, most of the social communities is adopt the patriarchy system, that it's the woman is not allowed to lead their in the small communities. It makes the women leaders, the role of women leaders in Indonesia is very limited. What we have to do is the men who have privilege in the managerial position of their high position, so allow a woman to lead their communities. It's have been implemented in our organization since 2016. That's the 80% of our managerial position is led by the woman. It results that a lot of things that women can offer our organization, especially the adolescents itself, for the young girls, that we more concerned about the menstrual hygiene compared to the male leaders. So according to our data, that 10 until 20% of the adolescent, young girls adolescent are not coming to the school because they're in the menstrual periods. It means the schools should provide the proper facilities to support the girls adolescent to make the comfort to study in our organization. That's the important thing for the women leaders in the organization. It's not only the male or female, but also the impact of their leadership to the society. That's that one I want to highlight, the women leadership. Thank you, Sabrina.
Thank you so much, Mas Mirza. Yeah, no, absolutely. And we don't have time to reflect, but I love everything that everyone has said in their reflections from your breakout rooms. And I feel like there is, really important stories being told of people's real life lived experience. And I hope that what we come away with from this session, and I feel like we certainly have from the speakers and from all of yourselves, is a real sense of hope and responsibility and awareness of what we can do in our communities to collectively lead in these spaces and these changes, inshallah. So I just super briefly, we're really looking forward to seeing everyone at the delegate presentations on Saturday. This is absolutely a highlight of the program where we get to hear from you. It's also somewhere where, just to kind of touch on, we have that idea of the collaborative project. We haven't mentioned that yet, in part because it's something we really want to see come about organically from your interactions, from your discussions. So the delegate presentation time is often a really excellent opportunity to just kind of hear other people speaking and kind of think, oh, maybe I could do something with them. There's something that resonates there. There's something I could contribute, or there's something I'd love to learn from them. Take it as a space to just see what comes up and see what ideas could be cultivated from there, but also just to really enjoy and listen to each other's stories, because as we've all got a glimmer of already, you all have such amazing experiences and different communities and different things to share with us. So really looking forward to seeing you all on Saturday. Thank you for a fantastic session today. Thank you for all of your reflections and thoughts. and experiences. And Salaam Alaikum. I look forward to seeing you again soon.